Today I'm going to show you how to secure API access in less than 2 minutes by using Akana. I will share 3 approaches demonstrating an ever-increasing level of automation. So first, by adding security to an existing API. Next, by creating that API and then have security added to it automatically. And finally, by executing the entire process in a fully automated manner. So first, let's add security policies to an existing API. And in Akana, you can easily do this in less than a minute, and let me show you how that would work. So let me log in as an API developer into the Akana developer portal, and let's have a look at some of the APIs that are already in there. So I'm going to my APIs, and what I'm interested in is this product manager API. Now currently, this API has not been secured at all, so we're going to change that. Let me show you how. We go to the implementation details of the API, so that's the runtime details of the API. It's got a live implementation. I'm going to the policies. I'm going to add a policy. In this case, we want to secure this API with OAuth 2.0, so I'm going to add the OAuth security policy to it, attach, save, done. Now, in case of OAuth, there is a second step we need to take because we need to tell the API, or at least the API gateway, what authorization server should be used at runtime. So in this case, we also need to provide the authorization server details. And Akana provides a lovely capability for that, which is called the OAuth provider, which kind of encapsulates all of the authorization server details, like what is the authorization server endpoint to use, what are the grant types that are supported, what are the scopes that are supported, etc., etc. So simply add that provider. I'm not going to use OAuth 1.0. I could specify some scopes, but I'm not going to do that just now. Done. So this is how easy it is to apply OAuth 2.0 security to your API. Now next, let's execute that process from scratch and look at how to create the API and then have security added automatically. So I'm now going to add another API. I'm going to use the same Swagger file that I used just now for that API that we saw just now. But in this case, I'm also going to indicate through additional metadata that this API is actually giving access to critical information. And that means that I want a policy collection applied to this API automatically when I hit save, which I am going to do just now. So the result of this is that the API product will be created, so another flavor, if you will, of that product manager API. But if I now look at the implementations, or the implementation detail, then you will see that in the policy section, there's not 1, but even 2 policies that have been automatically associated with this API. So it means API created, security applied automatically. Finally, because this of course still involves manual interaction of a developer with, in this case, the Akana developer portal, finally let's look at how you can actually automate this entire process with Akana. For example, if you want to effectively integrate it with your CI/CD pipeline. I can imagine that perhaps it is important to accommodate your dev teams by delegating all of the critical aspects, the implementation of those critical aspects, like critical security policies, for example, to the Akana API management layer, so that your developers do not have to worry about it. So in order to have a look at how you can do it using automation, let me execute 2 steps here. So one is setting the necessary environment for dev. So this is pointing the generation script to the proper environment, in this case the dev environment. The properties also point to the Swagger file that needs to be used. And then secondly, let me run the automation script itself. Oh, sorry. And we can create APIs within a minute. We even can create them within 10 seconds, as you can see, because here the API has been created. API Product Manager API with an automatic suffix of 1. So if I now go back to the portal and review my APIs, you will see that there's both the original Product Manager, the one that we created by automatically adding the policies and the one that was created just now using automation. Again, if you look at the implementations, you will of course see that the policies are in place because that metadata value was also provided as part of the automation script. Now, the proof of the pudding obviously is in eating it, so let's see what actually happens when we try to call this API. Because we request access now to be subject to OAuth validation. So in order to access it, I will need to connect this API to an application. I've already created an app, so let's select that app, hit next, next, and save. And then since we are actually accessing a live endpoint, the workflow demands that I also explicitly review and then activate that access request. So as the API admin, I can do that. Let me go to my apps, to my developer test client, open the embedded test client that is part of the portal, see that my product manager API 1 API is pre-populated. I of course need to get the access token. Akana provides an authorization server out of the box, so I can easily get a token. The access token that is given by the authorization server can be seen here. So if I hit next and finish, I should now be able to get the JSON response from that endpoint, right? And if you look at the trace details, you see that actually the authorization header was inserted by the test client in order to make the call possible. Obviously, if I would come up with a invalid access token, for example, if I would remove BLB from here, and I would try to do the same thing, you see that I get a 401 response, right? Because this token is not valid. So that's how easy it is to apply API gateway security with Akana. We've seen 3 different scenarios in just a few minutes. And if you want to see more of the Akana API gateway, and I'm sure you will, then please do check out our 20-minute on-demand demo. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Akana by Perforce.